Very good morning to you, and it's a pleasure to welcome you to the news at 10 on NTA News 24. We are reaching you live on the network service of the NTA. I am Muslima Sholebo.
And I'm Abdulmalik Dioga to have you join us on this Friday morning here on the news. Now, let's begin with the headlines.
Nigeria pledges to support peace, stability, and democratic governance in Guinea-Bissau.
Dialogue between federal government and organized labor over strike adjourned.
Events to mark Nigeria's Diamond Jubilee unveiled in Abuja.
Relief for flood victims in Niger State as First Lady Aisha Buhari extends her support.
Nigeria has reaffirmed her continued support and assistance to the Republic of Guinea-Bissau towards sustaining peace, stability, and democratic governance, while addressing a large gathering of participants who converged on the capital Bissau to celebrate the country's 47th independence anniversary. President Muhammadu Buhari emphasized that a peaceful and prosperous Guinea-Bissau is a win for West Africa and the entire continent. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports.
It was a highly befitting reception for President Muhammadu Buhari as he arrived Osvaldo Vieira International Airport, Bissau, on his first visit to Guinea-Bissau since coming to power. President Umaru Sissoco Embalo was at the head of the welcoming party. President Buhari and his host later joined their counterparts from Senegal, Burkina Faso, and Mauritania at the National Stadium Alto Badim to commemorate the 47th independence anniversary of the West African country. The event was not only historic and remarkable, but indeed momentous for a country of less than 2 million people that experienced 9 coups or attempted coups and until now embroiled in serious socio-political conflicts. The incumbent President Embalo is therefore seen as a symbol of hope for a united, stable, and prosperous nation. Speaking at the event, President Muhammadu Buhari said he is indeed proud of the support Nigeria provided towards entrenching democracy in Guinea-Bissau. This support, he said, can only be increased under his tenure.
I congratulate you and good people of the Republic of Guinea-Bissau on your Independence Day celebration and express my wishes for greater achievement in the years ahead. It is my sincere prayer that your country will continue on the path of regional cohesion, growth, and unity.
The president used the opportunity to reflect on the excellent relations between Nigeria and Guinea-Bissau, promising to work more closely with President Embalo to carry it on to the next level of fruitful cooperation and partnership.
Permitting me to conclude by expressing my profound gratitude to you, the government, and the good people of the Republic of Guinea-Bissau for being a good host to the Nigerians resident here in your country. Colonial boundaries will never break the bond of kinship that binds us.
And as a mark of appreciation for his enormous contributions to peace, stability, security, and democratic enterprise in Guinea-Bissau, the government named a major road in the capital city after the Nigerian leader. President Buhari formally inaugurated the road before returning to Abuja. In Guinea-Bissau, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
And in the meantime, a case for world leaders to ensure that their countries not only adopt open government principles would help democracy live up to public expectations so that their citizens can have a voice at and beyond the ballot box.
Now, President Muhammadu Buhari stated this at a virtual address to this year's Open Government Partnership Leadership Summit on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly. Siral's correspondent, Adamu Sambo, has the report.
The Open Government Partnership is a multilateral initiative that aims at securing concrete commitments from national and subnational governments towards promoting open government, empowering citizens, fighting corruption, and harnessing new technologies towards strengthening governance. The 2020 Virtual Leaders Summit was convened to not only address how to build stronger democracies in the future, but also discuss the role of open government innovations in effective COVID-19 pandemic management and tracking trillions of dollars in stimulus and safety net packages.
As COVID-19 cases continue to accelerate worldwide.
In his submission, President Muhammadu Buhari said citizens worldwide are now seeking information, engagement, and support from their governments as the world faces twin challenges of managing the health and economic impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic.
It is clear that governments cannot solve all of the challenges of the pandemic alone. And it is only through open governance and working with citizens that we can succeed.
Since coming to power in 2015, the president said his administration has been committed to changing international and domestic perceptions regarding Nigeria's commitment to fighting corruption and fostering good governance.
We focus on the task of dealing head-on with this destructive monster, which led to us joining the Open Government Partnership and making reform commitments, such as to establish a public central register of beneficial owners of corporate entities. Since then, we have made significant progress in implementing tougher anti-corruption measures, including my recent assent to the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020.
President Buhari explained that being an open government partnership member country, Nigeria has been able to learn from other countries tackling similar challenges and building coalition towards supporting reform measures aimed at enhancing citizens' trust in government.
These consultations are in line with the effort of our administration to encourage public participation in government policies and programs. We aim to expand the partnership in the African continent by continuing to play a leading role in the International Steering Committee. To my fellow Nigerians, I encourage you to get involved and help shape and sustain our democracies for now and the future.
And as the Open Government Partnership celebrates 10 years of existence next year, President Muhammadu Buhari appreciated the leadership and staff of the Global Support Unit for the enormous work being done towards ensuring that voices are not only heard, but indeed valued. In Abuja, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
And a compelling need is being advocated to strengthen international cooperation in the global effort to curtail the menace of illicit financial flows, as current international mechanisms are not strong enough to address the menace. President Buhari stated this at the Financial Accountability, Transparency and Integrity Panel video conference organized on the sidelines of the ongoing United Nations General Assembly. On the approach to promote equity and help achieve economic growth, the president, represented by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, agreed with the panel on the importance of having a balanced approach that reflects the situation in different regions and the priorities of different stakeholders. President Muhammadu Buhari observed that for the global aspiration to recover better from the impact of the pandemic and to yield any inclusive Result, existing structures that make it impossible for countries to generate and retain a sizable chunk of their resources must be comprehensively addressed. The president says evidence suggests that the contemporary international tax system uses a taxing rights regime that is not fit for purpose, as it makes combating tax abuses, especially by multinational corporations, difficult for most developing countries. President Buhari also hopes that the final report of the FACTI panel will introduce proposals that will lead towards a fairer international tax regime, and that the report will contain proposals that would address the continuing advocacy for country-by-country reporting, open disclosure, and automatic exchange of information on beneficial ownership, as well as eliminate financial secrecy, jurisdiction, and tax havens that facilitate base erosion and profit shifting. Laolu Akonde, Senior Special Assistant to the President of Media and Publicity in the Office of the Vice President, in a release, says the event was convened to present the interim report of the panel, which identified the major gaps in the implementation of the existing international frameworks for tax cooperation, anti-corruption, and anti-money laundering.
Vice President Yemi Osinbajo was Thursday briefed by Governor Yaya Bello on the fatal accident at Felele Junction in Lokoja, which claimed many lives.
That is right. And the governor also used the opportunity to call government's attention to the poor state of federal roads in the state. State House correspondent Jide Onifade tells you more.
The Vice President, who commiserates with affected families, the people and government of the state, promises that the federal government will continue to give utmost attention to developing critical infrastructure in the state and across the country. Governor Yahaya Bello, who had paid similar visits to the Minister of Works, says the state is grateful for the show of love received from the federal government and Nigerians over the incident, and especially the promise to improve federal roads in the state.
He expressed his concern also that moving forward, federal government is going to fund the various contractors to ensure that those road infrastructures are completed. They are doing excellently very well in the road infrastructure across the country, but we want more attention to be paid to Kogi State because it is the gateway between the north and south. And if our road is cut off, then even FCT is going to suffer, for it.
On funding of the proposed University of Science and Technology in the state, the governor says the university will be gently funded by the state and local governments, as well as the private sector. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
Now, the bilateral dialogue between the federal government and the organized labor to resolve impending nationwide industrial action over electricity tariff and hike in pump price has been adjourned to Monday, the 28th of September 2020. The decision was reached after several hours of discussions and consultations by both parties on what next line of action will be. Emmanuel Ayemero reports that though it was a closed-door meeting, at the end both parties adjourned.
That each and every one of us has the interests of Nigeria at heart. None from the side of labor that are asking for the best of welfare for their workers and for the people of Nigeria is less qualified or less patriotic. Those of us that are on this side of the divide, looking at the books, looking at the situation, the economics and the dynamics of the current situation that are propelled to make certain recommendations to government as to how we can have an economy that will be sustainable, an economy that will be able to provide for the good of our people, but also survive the storm that is confronting us.
Fruitful meeting. They are going back to their organs. The government side have given proposals to them on the palliative to cushion the effects of the rise in petroleum products and electricity. We have requested them to share the strike. We have appealed to them.
No, we adjourn till Monday by 3 p.m.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
And in the meantime, the Natural Oil and Gas Suppliers Association of Nigeria, NOGASA, is appealing to the Nigeria Labour Congress and the trade unions to further deploy dialogue in addressing differences with government on the deregulation of the petroleum downstream. A statement by NOGASA President Bennett Corey says an industrial action now will further impact negatively on the nation's economy already hit by the COVID-19 pandemic. NOGASA says for an already embattled sector to recover from the negative impact of COVID-19, global economic downturn, the need for caution at a critical time like this to avoid creating more problems than solutions must be taken by the unions. The statement also cautions against actions that can trigger unnecessary layoffs of the union members who constitute the number of employees as well as the loss of revenue to businesses. The appeal, the statement says, is necessary because NOGASA, as employers of workers in the natural oil and gas downstream sector, is committed to the overall economy of Nigeria. The statement also says NOGASA sacrificed significant resources during the height of the COVID-19 lockdown to keep fuel supplies stable across the nation, reiterating that her members refused to lay off workers despite the biting impact of COVID-19 and the plummeting oil prices. The association says they are optimistic that deregulation over time will bring price reduction and competition that will stabilize the markets. NOGASA lamented that though its members incurred huge losses during the price reductions, they will continue with supplies, knowing price fluctuations is typical in deregulation. In the light of anticipated negative outcome of a national strike to the entire Nigerian economy, NOGASA is appealing to the NLC-TUC to reconsider their proposed action over the increase in petroleum pump price and electricity rates by the government. NOGASA also says it is in support that government should leave the prices of these products to be determined by market forces, stressing that a deregulated oil and gas sector will create more employment in the long run. Now, this is the news at 10 on NTA News 24. We are reaching you on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Still ahead.
Impact of unstable and uncertain global oil price. Details ahead with the business news.
COVID-19 transmission is mostly through droplets from sneezing and saliva. The most effective way to protect yourself from the virus is to practice good personal hygiene. Wash hands with soap under running water or use an alcohol-based sanitizer if water is not available. Maintain at least 2 meters distance between yourself and anyone who is coughing or sneezing. Cover your mouth and nose with your elbow or tissue when you cough or sneeze. Dispose of the used tissue immediately. If you have traveled recently to a country with COVID-19 outbreak in the last 14 days and you have a fever, cough, or breathing difficulty, call NCDC toll-free numbers before going to the hospital. This message is from the National Orientation Agency.
Now, instability and uncertainty in global oil price continues to negatively affect oil-producing countries around the world, including Nigeria. Ranamin Egirani has the details.
Oil prices fell on Thursday despite a drop in the United States oil inventory last week and a stronger dollar. This decline comes amid concerns that the economic recovery of the world's largest oil consumer is slowing down as they continue to grapple with the coronavirus. Meanwhile, a resurgence of COVID-19 cases in some European countries like Germany, France, and Britain led to renewed travel restrictions in multiple countries, exerting additional pressure on already strained oil prices. By close of markets yesterday, Brent crude futures had fallen to $41.37 per barrel, while West Texas Intermediate crude had fallen $37.28 per barrel. Now let's find out how the Nigerian stock market performed on Thursday, the 24th of September, 2020. With business news, I'm Ronami Egirani.
Now let's take a look at micro, small and medium enterprises. Now with the commencement of the registration process for the federal government's Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Survival Fund and Guaranteed Offtake Schemes on the 21st of September, over 174,000 entries have been made.
And this was disclosed by the Minister of State, Industry, Trade and Investment, Mariam Katagun. Chimobi Water and Naji report.
The current efforts by the federal government to revive the real sector of the economy by injecting a 75 billion naira MSME survival fund into the sector has no doubt raised expectation among key players. 5 states of Kano, Kaduna, Lagos, Katsina and the FCT are top on the states that have already keyed into the scheme after opening of the portal for registration on the 21st of September.
And in this first tranche, we had targeted those in the education sector. But our observation is other Nigerians have been a bit impatient. So we have, when we looked at the analysis of the sectors, other sectors that were not yet opened had started creeping into this particular registration. So these numbers I've given is not entirely education. We've seen other sectors. I think maybe just out of anxiety.
One of the core responsibilities of the Presidential Committee is to ensure a seamless and transparent process, especially guarding against internet fraudsters and site cloning activities.
Artisans will be getting a one-off 30,000 naira. A one-off 30,000 naira. So this scheme is targeted at 333,000 MSMEs across the country.
What Katsina State also did was they engaged all their local stations, both radio and televisions, which the state government sponsored to provide information and sensitize the general public. So we call on all the state of the Federation to key into this initiative.
Subsequently, other tracks of the scheme will be opened, starting with hospitality industry on the 25th of September, payroll support and the rest on the 28th of September, while the first tranche of grants to artisans and transport sectors is expected to start on the 1st of October, with 12 states participating. In Abuja, Chimobi Walter Naji, NT News.
Now the presidency says the president and government of Nigeria welcomes the seriousness of the letter from the United Kingdom, lawmakers, legal experts and campaigners.
Indeed, the attention paid to this serious challenge by Commonwealth Ministerial Action Group and seek to work with the group as well as Commonwealth and all concerned parties to bring a lasting solution to Elders farmers clashes. Now, the threat posed to all Nigerians and the Sahel region as a whole from Boko Haram terrorists and their allies. Elizabeth Omori brings us details.
Nigerian government is asking the British lawmakers to visit Nigeria, whether formally or informally, to discuss all the points raised in their letter, stating that the country has everything to gain as a nation through international cooperation. The statement pointed out that the threat to civilians and peaceful coexistence between different ethnic and religious groups from Boko Haram, banditry and land disputes is of serious concern to the president and the government. It is therefore incorrect to assert that the government has or is doing nothing to address these intertwined threats. The presidency explained that there are ongoing efforts for the establishment of cattle ranches to prevent or curtail open grazing, the practice that brings herders and farmers into conflict. It added that the federal government has launched a plan to work with states to address the age-old problem of land distribution. But unfortunately, some state governors have not shown willingness to deal with the issue. It is also to be noted, when the government came to power, the terrorist group held and administered an area the size of Belgium. Now, they could hold none. The terrorists are hiding out amongst remote forests and across borders. This makes it difficult to extinguish the final flames of insurgency, and the government has no illusions of the potent threat still posed. However, the progress made cannot be denied. In the face of rising crime and insecurity, the government's new community policing initiative has been launched with 10,000 new constables being recruited from the areas they will safeguard, as opposed to past practice. The government has earmarked 13 billion naira for this initiative with the hopes that it will bring policing closer to local communities. The presidency also pointed out to the British lawmakers that not all who press them have the best interest of either democratic governance or peaceful coexistence in mind. For example, the former Nigerian Chief of Army Staff, named and quoted in the letter as a source on military matters, relinquished that position some 40 years ago in 1979. He was last in a government position 17 years ago in 2003 as Minister of Defense. At that time, religious and ethnic riots erupted in 2 states of the Federation, 2001 and 2002. These were violently and ruthlessly put down by the military under its authority, leading to loss of thousands of lives and the displacement of some further 50,000 persons. Is therefore not a natural source of pressure for good governance. Another signatory to the letter is well known to be associated with the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, a Nigerian blacklisted terrorist group. The IPOB is running a well-known source of financing unknown international campaign intended to damage the reputation of Nigeria and its government in order to further their cause of independence. He jumped bail in Nigeria, frequently travels on a Nigerian passport, but urged his supporters to burn their passports. The IPOB barely mentioned their aims in their publicity. Neither do they mention that their own leadership does not claim to be a Christian. The statement from the presidency called on Nigeria's British friends and colleagues to join in addressing genuine solutions, not pander to agents of anarchy.
And you're watching the news at 10 on NT News 24. We are reaching you on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Still ahead.
125 new cases of COVID-19 recorded in 13 states of the Federation. To stay tuned for more news.
For now, the best and most efficient way to avoid getting infected is through regular hygienic and sanitary practices, as well as social distancing. As individuals, we remain the greatest weapon to fight this pandemic. By washing our hands regularly with clean water and soap, disinfecting frequently used surfaces and areas, coughing into a tissue or elbow, and strictly adhering to infection prevention control measures in health facilities, we can contain this virus.
In handing over the documents to the Federal Prime Minister, Alhaji Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, Her Royal Highness handed over sovereignty to a new nation. This was the dramatic takeover by the new nation's own green and white flag.
This is the network service of the NTA.